why we have more ways to connect than we ever have, but loneliness is at an all-time high. Why is that?
That's funny. Hey y'all, this is Instructions Not Included. I'm Ariel.
And this is Imani. Instructions Not Included is a lifestyle podcast where we talk about all the areas in life that we wish we would have more instructions on, and we are writing our own instructions. This podcast is rooted in growth, community, and wellness. We hope you learn something, we hope you laugh, and we hope you enjoyed the episode.
Thanks for joining us today.
We are back with Instructions Not Included. This is episode 8.
Yeah, I'm so
This is going to
excited.
be the best one yet.
It just keeps getting better.
So today we're going to be talking about the illusion of connection. We're going to be talking about how technology's effect on community.
Mm-hmm.
And how we experience community.
Yeah. And obviously this is important for us because community is one of our values. If you guys have been tuned in since the beginning, you would know that. But yeah.
But if you haven't, you can always go check our Instagram at ini.pod.
For everything we've talked about till now.
We're going to start off by talking about the human need for a community. So we're going to talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We're going to talk about the physical needs of your body, and our psychological needs, and how community fits into those.
Why does community matter? Why do we crave it even now in the digital world?
The physiological needs. So we started off kind of talking about like human evolution in a way, or how humans have evolved.
Right. So we are social beings. We're communal beings. Mm-hmm. And that dates back to our primitive years. Is that what we call it? Yeah. When the need for community was for survival needs. You needed community to help you hunt, to keep you safe from predators and whatever. You needed it as a way to find food. You just needed it for your basic needs, survival needs.
You needed it for that first level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So
Maslow was a psychologist. Yeah, and this is a psychological theory that explains that humans have this innate need for self-actualization or self-fulfillment. But that's at the very top of the pyramid. And you actually need all of the lower and basic needs fulfilled in order to ever achieve like your purpose and your whatever is going to satisfy you in this world, right?
Right. I guess what he's basically saying is this is ultimately what humans want, and these are the needs that lead get us there.
Yeah, those are the steps that you need to, not steps, but the lower tiers need to be fulfilled or satisfied.
Yeah.
In order for you to move on.
You need this foundation in order for you to.
And if you look at the pyramid and the different tiers, it makes sense because the beginning is physiological needs. So like you need food, shelter, water. Like if you don't have those basic needs, you're not going to be looking to hang out with your
job.
Friends. Yeah.
You're not going to be doing any of that.
Exactly. And then after that, it's like safety needs where like security. Right? And then you go up and it's belonging and love needs.
Mm-hmm. And those are psychological needs.
Yeah, so you're moving from the basic and physiological needs to psychological needs, where you can expand, like, okay, like I have food, I know what I'm going to eat tonight, tomorrow, and I have shelter, I'm secure in my environment, and now I can, like, focus on other things, like, wow, I want to be part of something bigger than myself. Like, I want to feel love, I want to be in a romantic or platonic relationship with other people. Like, you're not going to be worried about that if you're worried about what your next meal is going to be. And then it keeps going on and on. So that's the hierarchy.
Right. We're using that to answer the question, why does community matter to us? Why do we need it? Why does our body need it? Why does our mind need it? All of that. So we're going to start with the physiological needs. So the base of the pyramid is, like she was saying, food, water, shelter, and then security and safety.
We need a community to in order for us to survive, right? That's what we're using community for.
And then once you go up to the psychological needs, so you're talking about belonging and love and building relationships and all of those type of things, which are it's directly linked to your community. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And I guess it's being intentional maybe about building your community, like who you want in your community.
Yeah, because at that point you have the room, the freedom, the space to think about who you choose and love and want to be with,
right?
Outside of just like, I need you to survive.
As a society, we're kind of moving up the pyramid, and so now we're talking about why we need community for our psychological needs. And I think kind of when we were talking about this episode, like basically like we've used knowledge and technology and all these other things to help us achieve that kind of.
We've used the advancement and we've used technology and everything to help us with our basic needs. So like we've created societies that are away from maybe animals that can hurt us, right? And there are cars, so you can go to the store. There are stores. There are all these things that you have. So you're good. You're safe.
Yeah,
you're safe.
I don't know why Moo was a little bit shaky today. He was like.
So we've gotten to the point in society where our physiological needs are met because we've used our intelligence and our
resources,
right, technological advancements to help us there. Now we've moved up, like as a society, like we've moved up to like the belonging and the love, and this also reflected in marriages, right? Like they talk about how now we're choosing to marry out of love, and that's not really what's been the thing. Usually you marry because I need to marry someone with money.
Yeah, marriage of convenience. Yeah. Or what you're trying to supply your basic needs for yourself and future generations.
Exactly. So as a society, we have gone from like needing people just to survive to now we're like, okay, now we can see if we like each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now since technology has been introduced to society,
we use it for more things. And so a lot of what we're going to be talking about is how technology and social media, we're trying to, for our psychological needs. It's not necessarily that we think technology and social media can replace it, but it's kind of like we've done it on accident. Like we're using social media and on social media and we think we're connecting with people, but we're losing that basic human to human interaction and connection that we still need.
Yeah. So the pyramid, it can't be a pyramid if like the bottom parts don't exist. And the whole point of anytime like you learn and grow, you don't just like get to a new level and then discard everything that you've learned before, that you've done before, even in video games or whatever. Let's say you accumulated some money or some whatever in the last level, you get to use it in the new one.
Yeah.
So that's the whole point of like, just because we've moved up and like
use those things to level up.
Yeah. You don't just discard the fact that community is helpful for X, Y, and Z, because you still need that, but it's become it's maybe an elevated need, or like it's just transformed. The relationship with community has transformed.
Right.
And that's our point. We're probably going to say that same thing in different ways a million times during this episode.
Yeah.
Because that is the point that we're trying to make, that our need for community has just evolved over time. And because we feel like technology has helped us in not have that quote unquote need for community for survival basis, does not mean that the need for community is not there anymore.
Right.
And yeah, we're trying to tell you that technology does not replace that.
Right. So I guess that is a good transition, actually. If community is so fundamental and it's a human need, why does it feel harder to find in today's world? Or why does it feel like we've deprioritized it? And it's just because, like you were saying, we've used technology to get us to these different levels. And it's kind of like we've forgotten, it's going back to your roots. Like, oh, I use this to get to this level, don't just leave it. You have to bring it with you.
Yeah.
It's about bringing things with you.
Yeah. And it feels like we've deprioritized it because of the way society has shifted. You think about social structures, going from communal to individualistic living, capitalism, all of that has impacted our perception for the need of community, right? Perception of community.
Our perception for the need. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, we can talk more about that. The evolution of social structures, how we've gone from tribal living to multi-generational homes where, like, you're living with your grandparents and your aunts and your uncles and your nieces and your nephew, right? To more nuclear families where it's mom, dad, children. And now, like, solo living, where a lot of people are living by themselves.
Right. And technologies has helped us move to these different social structures because we're able to live by ourselves because we have so much access to food, so much access to everything else that we don't depend on just the people in our house to, okay, make sure you're going to, hunt the food. You're going to gather the food.
You're cleaning the house and you're doing this. Like now you have a vacuum.
You can get Instacart to bring your groceries. You can
use your car to do things.
You can get somebody, like, you can do all of those.
You can take care of yourself. Yeah.
By yourself. You can be I think you can be independent.
Yeah,
like our goal has been to make ourselves independent. And so that's why, like, our idea of community has changed.
Yeah. Pros and cons. I was about to say it's a good thing. Yeah, it's a good thing.
It's a good thing that we don't depend on one source. We don't depend on one thing for, like, all of our needs, I guess.
Or just like depend.
Yes.
We don't depend on people. I don't, because people like back then would like have kids because like I need someone to work.
Yeah.
And now you're like, yeah, no.
I want to have kids.
Yeah, right. All of that shifts.
Yeah, that's true. Like I don't have a job for you to do. I just want to reproduce.
You do not have to go milk the cow. I just want to see you around my house. That's it. Oh yeah, more autonomy, right?
And that's that love and belonging that we're seeking again with kids. You want kids because you want to love them. You want to expand your family, not because you need them to work your land.
Exactly.
We're moving up. We're moving up in the world.
That's very nice. Very nice.
But with more autonomy comes more isolation.
Yeah.
Because like we're talking about, you go from tribal to multi-generational to nuclear to solo living. You're living with less and less people, and it becomes easier to isolate. Whether or not you're trying to do that, if you go home to an apartment where you're by yourself, you're naturally isolating.
Yeah.
And we have to make more of an effort to be in community now.
Our social structure has made us more isolated. But also, even though that has, I guess, isolation has negative connotation on its own, right? You're away from people. You're by yourself. But technology does have a solution for that. Technology has given us a way to bridge those gaps. You can still communicate with your family. You have telephone, you have FaceTime, Zoom, planes to catch, right? Like there's still a way for you to connect with people. And that's what we use to connect with your loved ones. That's why we use social media. That's why you're texting and stuff. So there's that connection that we long for and we still get because of social media.
Right.
But I guess the problem is this is a double-edged sword, or it's become that way because we see the negative impacts of technology and how it sometimes is actually like pulling us apart or in some ways replacing the actual connections that you have with real people.
Right. We're leaning on it a little bit too much.
Yeah.
We're depending on it. I don't think we're depending on it to replace social connection, but we're just kind of doing it accidentally. It's supposed to aid in your connection to real people, but we're kind of using it supplementally.
Yeah.
So instead of us using it to, connect to somebody who's far away. But you can also use that to, okay, I met this person online. That can turn into an in-person relationship, but that doesn't always happen. I think the problem comes in when we start supplementing, oh, I found this community online and I'm talking to them all the time, and it never makes it offline, and you're spending all of your time communicating with people online, and you're thinking, oh, I'm communicating and being social, but again, it's going back to supplementing that online connection for in-person human interaction. And that's just one instance of kind of that double-edged sword. Like, yes, we can use it to connect us to people that we already know and get to know people that we don't know, but we want to use it more as an aid rather than a replacement.
While you were talking, I was thinking about how, like, we talk about how, like, quickly technology has advanced.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about back when we had, like, home phones, and you use your phone to call people whose number you have.
Right.
Or the number you can find because you need them. You're not just, like, right, dialing random numbers. And then, a little bit, you evolve a little bit, and there's, like, computers, and there's emails. And again, you're emailing people that you know.
That you work with.
Or
yeah.
Right? And then evolve a little bit more. Maybe first social media.
When we first got Instagram, we followed like 100 people, and you knew every single one of them.
Yeah, because it was, I'm showing my people the things that I'm doing. I'm talking to people that I know. But you can tell, like, the circle got bigger because it's not just, like, my close friends and people whose number I have, but maybe it's, like, people in my community, like my school,
mm-hmm.
people in my neighborhood, things like that. And then it just keeps getting bigger, broader, right? The network expands. And I think it's just expanded to a place where we're like, I have access to everyone.
To everyone and everybody at all times.
Everything, all the time. And I think that's the issue. And I think that's where the line gets blurred with community.
Mm-hmm.
Because, first it was an aid. It helped me keep track of, like, my cousin who's not down the street anymore.
Right.
But now we're like, I'm keeping track of Megan, who I have never met.
When you were talking, it made me think about how, like, I'm thinking about when I was in high school. That's when possibly when Instagram started. And when we first got on, like we were saying, we followed people that we knew. And I was thinking about how that's where I kind of, like, not necessarily my community, but that's where things started to expand, because at first I'm thinking of, like, my school community as the friends and the people that I see at my school every day.
Mm-hmm.
And then with Instagram, I remember being connected to, like, all these other people who went to different schools.
Yeah.
That, like, you would see them at, like,
track
games
meets and stuff like that. Yeah.
But now you're seeing them, like, all the time. You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like, you have a better view into this person's life, and then you start to get to know people more.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. And then it just kept on. Because, like you were saying, at first Instagram was like, yeah, I know these people. Yeah, we go to the same school. Yeah, we're in the same city. And then it just keeps on. Like, now it's like you meet someone one time, like, what's your Instagram? It's like, I'm never going to see you again. We're in a different country. Like, what are you? But that's how it goes.
It's the World Wide Web.
Yeah, literally. And then even, like, LinkedIn, but, like, even that aspect of, like, connections.
Yeah.
And that's why we're talking about, like, the double-edged sword. Like, it does give you access to people. It gives you access to communities that you probably would not have access to just in your real physical world. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the other benefits of technology, like working from home, accessibility to resources and knowledge. But I think, like, the speed and the rate at which it has grown and evolved is maybe a little too fast for us.
And I was also thinking about how, like, we wrote down that, like, part of the double-edged sword is that we kind of lose those deep and meaningful conversations. And you also lose you can lose deep and meaningful connections. Like, I'm thinking about with social media and stuff, like, in person, you know people, like, you know your friends and your family intimately. Now on social media, you know a little about a lot. You know a little bit about a whole lot of people, and you get the illusion of knowing them intimately because they might post all of this stuff, but they're choosing what to post.
Yeah.
And you still only see
A fraction.
a fraction of their life. Even if you, and that's the part where the illusion comes because if you're on social media for 6 hours a day,
Yeah.
you might feel like you know a person.
Yeah.
If you watch somebody's like vlog channel and you're binge watching their vlogs, you feel like you know them.
Yeah, that's very true.
And you don't. And that goes into parasocial relationships.
Yeah.
We should explain what that is.
A parasocial relationship is a one-sided relationship where a person develops a sense of connection, intimacy, or familiarity with a media figure, like a celebrity or a fictional character, that they don't know personally, and often experiencing it as a real relationship.
That's that false sense of intimacy.
Yeah. And I know this, celebrity, influencers, all of that stuff. You think because
You see them all the time. They're on your screen all the time. You're always watching them, listening to them. You feel like you know them.
and you don't.
Yeah. And it goes, like you said, it's one-sided. You're watching them. They know nothing about you.
They know nothing
it's
about
actually
you.
not a relationship at all.
You're just crazy.
It's not mutual.
It's not.
It's not mutual.
And that's the thing about community. Community is mutual.
Community is mutual. And you see like influencers and like people talk about like their actual mutuals. So other influencers in their like
Niche
segment,
space, yeah.
that they either talk to a lot or that they actually see in person, and they call those people their mutuals. But and maybe that can be considered part of their community.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about like a person's followers, and that's like influencers will call their followers, their community, it doesn't go both ways. So is it a community? I mean, it goes both ways in some ways, but not the connection part.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's the thing we're talking about, because we just have to be aware of our use of technology and like the line, because I think the line gets blurred. Because like you said, the influencer might be like, yeah, this is my community, yeah, because we show up for you and whatever. But in a lot of ways, a lot of them are like, hey, I don't know you in real life. You guys need to chill, because some people get crazy because people blur the lines.
The lines are blurred.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I don't know, like social media, I don't know. I can't teach you how to
have boundaries, and
those people do not know you. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. There's this TikToker who he goes to the gym a lot, and he talks about like mental health and his depression and all of that. He talks about that a lot on his TikTok, and he takes breaks a lot for his mental health. And so he was on one of these unannounced breaks, and he hadn't posted videos in like, I don't know, weeks, months. I don't know how long it had been. And he came back and made a video, and he was like, hey, I'm okay. And I want to let you guys know that like we have crossed some lines. So one of his followers called his gym and was like, hey, he hasn't posted in weeks or months or whatever. I just want to make sure that he's okay. This follower doing it with good intentions, but not knowing where that stopped. Like, she's calling to like check on him and make sure he's good because he talks about depression, but she's going from online to his real life. Like, imagine going into your gym and like the reception's like, hey, somebody from online called you. What?
That is so scary. And that's what I'm talking about. Y'all done blurred the lines, because we're not friends in real life. And that's not, I have so many words. It's not even coming out. Yeah. And we have different communities for different things. Maybe that's another thing we need to talk about. Like, yeah, you're online. I don't even want to talk about online. The point is, y'all be blurring. I mean, we be blurring the lines. Sorry. we can blur the lines sometimes.
And going along with that, and it's kind of like what we were just talking about, that follower felt like she had the responsibility of being his friend. Like, that's something that a friend does, but a friend has that person's number and is able to call them or go check on them. You don't have his number. You had to, and he has like his DMs cut off. So it's like, oh, she found a way. So she's like, I'm going to call the gym, and then the message is going to get to him. If you don't have a direct way to talk to them, you probably don't need one.
You are
You probably
right
don't
now.
need to talk to them.
I am looking at you like, yeah. Like when you said the whole number thing, yeah.
I'm connecting that as I'm talking. I'm like, yeah, if you have the numbers of the people that you need to have. So if you don't have their number, you
don't need to. Yeah, that is not your friend. I don't know what to tell you.
Or if you don't if you don't have that information, it's not for you.
Yeah. As you were saying that, yeah. You know what? Hell yeah.
You know what?
What? Yeah, you don't have my phone number. You don't need to be that pressed about me. And like you're not. You just think you should be. Like, no. Okay. Ugh,
anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think also with influencers, I see them talk a lot about loneliness because they're talking about like how they have all these followers and they're technically talking to all these people. But if you're not doing that in real life, it kind of means nothing. Because even if I have all these followers, I'm always on my phone, we're always talking, we're always commenting and talking back and forth. That's not fulfilling that connection. That's the illusion of connection.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about even influencers and stuff. From what I've seen on social media, when they do meet their followers in real life, they really like those interactions because I think like that whole connection, like you're not just somebody in a screen. Yeah. This whole like
puts a face to a name.
Screen thing is really an issue.
Yeah, actually, yeah. And that's like even artists, they talk about like meeting fans. I love meeting fans
because it's like, oh, this is a real person who actually fucks with me.
This
and
person
like
listens to my music and loves it. Like actually loves it. Like until you meet people or until you like go to a concert and see thousands of people there for you to perform, we're just numbers.
Yeah. That makes sense.
We're just numbers.
And
that's how that's when I was watching the Meg documentary. Mm-hmm. She was like all the shit that she was going through with like Tori and Nicki and all of that. And she was just talking about how she was saying like, oh, everyone hates me. And I'm watching it as a super fan. I'm like, girl, how could you think that? We love you.
Yeah.
But she don't know me. She doesn't know any of us.
She can't hit you up for you to give her some words of affirmations or anything like
Nothing.
that.
And it's like, I'm sure people do that on her Instagram, but it's like...
It doesn't mean...
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It falls on deaf ears because it's like, yeah, you love me because you love my music, you love my body, you love whatever. You don't know me. You don't... So you're saying you love me, but what do you love about me?
Oof. This is a good one. Yeah.
And that's like thinking about her, like her actual social circle. Like if you think like Tori and whatever, like these are people that she works with. This is her social circle. So her like social circle is being impacted. It doesn't matter how much her fans love her because her like immediate
people I be around. Yeah. Who are you telling?
I'm so glad. Love you, Meg.
I'm thinking about the hierarchy of needs again. How like the love and belonging, that's a need. I think like I think sometimes we don't really recognize the fact that those are innate needs. Like my need for security, I also have a need for love and belonging.
Yeah.
Friendship, all of that stuff. And
if you think about the pyramid, you need love and belonging to reach self-actualization or self-fulfillment. Mm-hmm. And you think of people who are like, if you're a successful artist, like you've reached fulfillment, you've reached self-actualization. But you hear about celebrities being so unhappy because they are missing that love and belonging.
Yeah.
So it's not like, it's like, yeah, it appears that they're self-actualized or fulfilled, but they don't feel that way.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That is. I have nothing to add. Because that's
Psychology 101. You literally learn about Maslow's hierarchy of needs in your first psychology class, and it's a good foundation.
It is.
It makes sense.
And that's what also I'm thinking, wow. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, you know, when people get very successful, but they're still depressed because they don't have certain things, right? Or maybe like child actors or children who become stars.
Yeah.
And like, I guess at some point you get the money and stuff, but you don't have time to like have friendships and relationships. You don't trust people. So like that chunk is like missing.
Or you can't maintain relationships because you're always moving.
Ooh. Be grateful that you're average. Now we have the luxury of going through all these things, you know. We can build community, love, belonging, all of that.
Yeah, we don't have to. I mean, everybody has to worry about trust, but you don't have to worry about like, oh, does somebody just want me for my money? Does somebody just want me for...
Trust me, you don't have that much. That's not why they want to be around you.
It's probably your personality.
That's funny. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, that was good. That opened a lot of...
It did.
Yeah. So we were just talking about how love and belonging and connection is an essential part of that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So now the question is, what happens when we lose that human connection, human interaction?
Yeah. And like on the most like basic of things, like we lose just social skills. And the pandemic was a really good example of that.
Yeah.
Because when we were isolated for a long time, either by yourself or with just your family, you weren't interacting with, I don't know, like restaurant workers, other people in general. You see that people, no, me personally, when I went back out in the world for real, I didn't even want to talk to a waitress and stuff. I felt a little like social anxiety coming. I was like, this is weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember I was like, yeah, I've been like away from people for so long.
For a long time.
And I was 20, I was in my 20s already. Imagine if you were like 15 and then.
Yeah, that has my baby sister I talked. She was in high school when COVID happened, and it impacted her high school experience, but also now her college experience.
Yeah.
Because people who grew up or like had that essential social time in COVID, like if you think about high school is a very important like social, like learning social cues,
those years
learning how
very...
to interact. All of that's very important. So then if you're losing that time, and then you go to college, she's like, it's terrible. Nobody knows how to interact. A lot of people have social anxiety. Like when class ends, people run up out of there. They're not trying to talk.
Yeah.
They're like study groups and stuff is not, people are not as, I don't want to say willing, but they're not as willing to initiate like in-person connection. Like they're more likely to, you know, like start a group me and communicate that way. But as far as like, hey, let's all meet as a study group and let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's talk at the end of class.
Yeah.
Like to people, like I may not know you, but we're in class. I'm going to talk to you.
And before, like there's always people who don't, like I'm very introverted.
Yeah.
So like I naturally don't want to talk to people. But before it was like a regular amount where there are other people around me who will make that happen.
Yeah, and we didn't have as many options to not like Zoom wasn't like we've had Zoom, but it wasn't like something that we regularly use for anything and everything.
So like you knew that human interaction was like part of life. Even if you don't like it, you're like, yeah, I still have to like show up. But then when it became your norm, you're like, no, actually, I don't have to talk to people. And you never develop those really important social skills.
Yeah. And for us, like as introverts, not having to do that was like kind of nice. We're like, you know,
thank you.
Isolation is so bad.
We had a great time during COVID. But yeah.
But it is like if you are not having that for long periods of time, that's the problem.
Yeah.
And like we said, if you're losing that at an essential point in your development,
right,
then it becomes a huge problem. And
it's a huge problem.
And it's not even just like impacting like people who were at, you know, developmental stages of, you know, their human life. But if you think about like work and working remote, obviously that gives us access to, you know, talk to people around the world. It gives people access to, you know, work from home and all of that. But also, again, it's those social skills. There's a lot of social skills that you don't build at work with your
Yeah.
coworkers. You don't learn how to work with all these different types of people.
Yeah.
Working with someone remotely online is very different from like having to work in office and
Deal
learning how
with
to
people's jokes and
Yes.
inappropriateness and how to
Yes.
stop and all. Yeah, social cues. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, even just like speaking up, just there's little things that you get to work on just because you have to be an adult in life, like
Yeah.
presentation or speaking up if something's wrong or like whatever. If you're just on the laptop, you can just close the laptop and that's it.
Yeah, and if you see people talk about like how a lot of people don't like to turn their cameras on, like most people don't like you press the little button to raise your hand and
Yeah.
ask a question, and they're always at the end of Zooms like begging people to ask questions or whatever. And some people, for some, like it is like we said, can be used for good, because for people who maybe if they were in person they wouldn't ask a question, it gives them the opportunity to kind of build that.
Yeah.
But then also it's like those are different skills that you're learning. Like
Yeah.
learning how to speak up in front of a person is very different than learning how to speak to a screen.
Yeah, very different.
Very different.
Yeah.
And even because I don't want to say because of COVID, but COVID definitely accelerated even things like ordering food. Like if you want to order your coffee or whatever and just go pick it up, you don't have to talk to a person.
Yeah.
You can. There's so many things that we can do now without talking to a person.
Yeah.
You can pick up your groceries without talking to a person. You can everything. You can do so much without talking to a person. And that's kind of a little bit leads into our next point, because we're talking about how there's so many things in our life where we don't have to interact with a person. But one of our things is make yourself, like, just even though it might be inconvenient or take like a couple more minutes, just go inside and order your coffee.
Yeah.
Or go through the drive-thru. You still have to talk to a person. Just do things, make yourself interact.
Yeah.
I think because we've used technology to get ourselves to a point to make things more convenient and faster, and so that it doesn't, like, a lot of, like, with technology and work, people are like, well, you know, using humans is expensive and all of this and that. So we try to find different solutions, but that's where we're losing that interaction that's so important to us and that we need. And so we kind of have to make the decision to implement it back into our lives, because we can technically, you could live your whole life without it. It may not be very happy, but you can do it. But we are encouraging holistic wellness, and we want you to be mentally and emotionally well. And to do that, you need connection.
Come on now. Yeah. I couldn't have said that better myself, actually. Yeah.
It's just like anything else where, like, maybe like people used to have jobs that were more physical. Now people don't. So you have to make yourself go to the gym. You have to make yourself work out more than maybe you used to have to. So it's just like anything. We just have to be more intentional about it.
And we talked about this the other day, and we were saying, like, oh my gosh, everything in life you have to be so intentional about. Like, things are getting easier, but also just really hard because we're kind of going back to, like, our roots. We're just straying away from our natural way of being, which is good in terms of, like, evolution and stuff. But also it's like we still need the foundational things. So you have to incorporate and integrate and be mindful and harmonize and golly. But don't be disappointed or anything. I know, discouraged.
This is why I'm so, like, passionate and set on, like, farming or homesteading, because to me it, like, kind of builds in so much. It builds in, like, a lot. It builds in your basic needs. It builds in your, I don't want to say love. Yeah, love and belonging. Like, you having relationships with the people who you're planting stuff with. You're doing it with your family. It builds that in. And depending on who you are, it's not necessarily going to self-actualize or self-fulfillment. But there's so many things there's so many, like, points of wellness that it includes. And then it doesn't have to be so dramatic as farming and homesteading, but it like, just growing your own food maybe, or, like, being outside. I don't know.
I think she's saying incorporate the 8 dimensions of wellness that we talked about in previous episodes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find one thing that incorporates as many things as many of those dimensions as possible. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that is what she's trying to say. No, because that's the point of it. Like, we have to rebuild connections, because the whole point of everything we're doing here is to be like holistic beings. Because our 3 pillars are growth, community, and
wellness.
The third one. Oh, wellness, right? And I think that those episodes on the 8 dimensions of wellness, it doesn't have to be 8, but there are. Being aware of the different dimensions of wellness, you can see how technology and community, all that stuff, is affected in the different aspects of your life and your well-being. Talk about, we can hit all of them. I won't even remember all of them, but like physical wellness, we talk about technology. We talk about how sitting on your computer all day or scrolling is not good for your physical well-being, because you need to get up and move. Just simple, right? I'm not even talking about like heart attacks because of loneliness and stuff. Just basic. You need to get up and move. Cool. Next, emotional well-being. We've talked about
mental and emotional. You're not getting connection.
Exactly. Like, we can hit all of them. Occupational, your job.
It's harder to find satisfaction. A lot of people find satisfaction in like making friends with their coworkers or having a good leader. If you don't have that connection, you're working remote, you barely know them. Occupational wellness.
Come on now. Environmental. We can hit all of them. And if you actually take the time to sit there and think about your wellness in a holistic sense, and think about how these different things like technology and whatever are impacting your overall wellness, your well-being, it makes it easier to... I don't want to say fix the problems, but like, it makes it easier for you to work on harmonizing things.
Yeah, so you're not trying to satisfy all these different dimensions separately, because that's where that, like, we're talking about, like, you have to be intentional about everything. Okay, I need to make sure I do this. I need to make sure I do this. And I know for me, sometimes I use the dimensions of wellness to be like, okay, I have these dimensions. What do I need to? Okay, I have this goal. I have this goal. I need to make sure I hit all of these things so that I am holistically well. That's very intentional. I have to literally write that out and be intentional to make sure all of those things happen. And we're basically trying to find not cheat codes, but just ways to get back to our roots where multiple of those things were included in one.
Yeah. I don't know if it sounds like we're like anti-technology. We're definitely not anti-technology. Our main thing is just like your relationship with technology.
Yeah, using it as a tool instead of depending on it.
Yeah.
And mindful use, like set boundaries with it. There's nothing wrong with getting on social media. We don't need to be on social media for 10 hours a day. And you think that, 10 hours a day, nobody does that. It's very easy to do that.
I get a notification every Sunday that tells me I've used it at least 6 hours.
Exactly.
On average. I'm like, oh.
And that was going to be like, actually, I think a lot of people do that now. Like, get notifications about like their screen time and all of that. But if you don't, actually look at it. Like, actually look at it and face. This is like looking at your bank account after the weekend. Like, actually look at your screen time and see how much time you've spent on social media, on whatever.
Yeah.
It will surprise you.
It will.
It will surprise you. And a lot of times I think it's because we're just doing it mindlessly, especially like if you're at work and you don't have nothing to do, you're just scrolling on social media. That you're at work for 8 hours. So that's a lot of time to be on social media.
Yeah, that is so funny. I was thinking about how I have a timer on my TikTok. I can only be on it. I say I can only be on it for an hour a day, right?
Yeah, that's what mine said too.
Yeah, and then that message became, I'm like, hey, I was watching the video. But that helped me be aware. I'm like, oh, okay, it's 9 a.m. I've been scrolling. So yeah, I need to get up and do something.
Especially when what kills me is when it's like 1 a.m. and it's like you've been on this for an hour. And I'm like, first of all,
that doesn't count.
Like the day hasn't even started yet.
You need,
But
Or
it
like,
makes you aware.
you know what happens to me? That whole 1 a.m. thing. Like, I'll use it before I go to sleep, and then I'll use it when I wake up, and then my hour. I'm like, y'all did not time this correctly.
Hello, like, y'all are depriving me.
Yeah,
Y'all not calculating this shit right.
I went to sleep actually, but while you were talking about all of that stuff, I was thinking awareness. That's really like all we're ever trying to push.
That's the key.
I'm thinking about all our episodes, and I guess I don't know why I keep talking about all the other episodes, but even with like rest and relaxation, values, boundaries, all of it is like, at first you just have to be aware of what's happening, and then you can make, what is it called?
Changes.
Yeah, like actual real progress because you're aware. And a lot of us just aren't aware of things, or maybe we don't care. I don't know, but if you're listening to us, you probably care a little.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, like, once they are aware of it, they're like, oh, this is a problem.
Yeah.
And I feel like some people are aware, but they ignore it. But sometimes it gets to a point where you can't ignore it anymore.
Yeah. Or sometimes you become aware of something, but you don't really have answers, or you don't really know what questions to ask. And I guess that's what we're here for. Like, we like to bring awareness to something and then give you like tangible things. Like, hey, you can do this.
Tangible solutions.
Yeah.
That's what we're supposed to be doing right now.
Yeah.
What we did, we talked about mindful use, look at your screen time, set the time, what do you call it, the timers for your apps. I have mine on TikTok, Instagram. It just kills me when I'm in the middle. I'm like,
no. Sorry.
But it makes you, like you said, aware. And then you're like, oh, okay, maybe I don't need to be on here for 2 more hours.
Yeah.
I've already been on here for an hour.
Yeah. We talked about prioritizing real world interactions. Like, you're just going to have to be uncomfortable and go and talk to people.
It is going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. In what ways can we prioritize real life connections?
Well, we talked about one, and just like everything that, if you're ordering a coffee, you don't have to like go up to the counter and order it, but do it. Like, have that interaction with somebody. Like, there's so many ways that like we've built in so many conveniences for ourselves, but just inconvenience yourself like a little bit.
Yeah.
Or even if you do order it on your phone, like, go pick it up and talk to somebody, like pick it up from the counter or whatever. Just do the things that you realize, like, there is an option to, and that's a thing. A lot of people are like, there's an option to like talk to a person to do this. I'm going to choose the option where we don't talk to a person. But one way that I think I and most people hate that is like customer service, talking to the fucking robot instead of a representative.
Speak to a representative.
No, I have not met one person that likes that. It's like those are the moments where you realize humans and human interaction is so important.
I need you to feel me.
I need you to feel me. I need you to hear me. I need you to problem solve with me. I can't.
I need you to tell me that you're sorry. I'm so sorry for this inconvenience. Thank you.
Hello?
Because it is an inconvenience.
I need you to offer me something for I'm so sorry for your inconvenience. Can we offer you? Yes, you can.
That would be nice, actually. Like, yeah.
I think it just, like, again, choosing. Okay, we can use church as an example. It's very easy to watch online church. You don't have to get up. You don't have to get in traffic. You don't have to
get dressed. Nothing.
And you can get the message. But church is such like a communal, so important for our communities.
Bro, we were just talking about this the other week. I love going to church just for the community. Like, you're there with people who, they're just kind. You know, I'm not saying every church person. I'm just saying like the atmosphere, the essence of church and community is there. And it feels really good to be part of that. So it does. Honestly, even if you don't believe in God, just go and it feels good.
Hopefully the people will be Christ-like and they will accept you anyway.
Exactly.
They're supposed to be the disciples of Christ anyway.
You know, supposed to be. So I think that's a good one.
Ooh, that is a good one. I'm thinking about, because the church that I go to, like a large portion of my family on both sides of my family goes to that church. So going to church, we used to be able to connect with the family. Like, it would be like, we see everybody on Sunday.
Yeah.
Now it's like we go months without seeing people.
Especially after COVID. Like, it's
COVID just
God. Yeah.
We're having a hard time as a society.
We are.
From that.
Yeah, we are. Things are different. I was talking the other day with a friend about how hard it is, or like how intentional you have to be when you get older to have relationships with your adult siblings. Like, it has to be very intentional to be like, to have to maintain good relationships because you're adults. And like, let's say you don't live together.
Yeah.
And maybe, let's say like your parents, let's say, I guess it's me. My parents aren't here, right? So there's not that whole like, oh, we're going to our parents' house for dinner on Sunday. So you guys have to be like,
oh my God.
Hey, yeah. Like my brothers and I, luckily I have great brothers who love me and always trying to hang out.
Yeah.
But we have to be like, hey, y'all want to get dinner this weekend?
Yeah.
It has to be so intentional.
And if you think about people who like all their siblings don't live in
the
one
same
place, like that's why holidays are so important.
Yeah.
Like, and that's a way that technology is a really good thing, because you can get on a plane to go see them, you can talk to them and stay, in contact.
Right.
But yeah, we're talking about prioritizing in-person interaction. Yeah.
And you can tell even like people who live far away, but when you do prioritize those, like even if it's just once a year we get to see each other, you feel that love or belonging. That's you feel it. Like Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday ever. Like I know it has terrible like backgrounds, but
it's not. We don't really.
They snapped with the food and the friends. Bro, I don't top tier holiday.
Thanks.
What?
Also, you love sharing a meal.
I know. Like,
you love sharing a meal. Thanksgiving
everything.
is
everything that I like. Community, food, gratitude. What?
It's like
America snapped with that one. I'm not gonna lie.
People are so happy on Thanksgiving, and there's no pressure to like buy presents for everybody. There's none of that. You're coming
it's just
together
love.
to eat food.
It's literally like
people.
I like spending time with y'all, and we get to share a meal. What? Oh my God.
It's actually great.
I love it. It fulfills me. I feel like I self-actualize on Thanksgiving.
So my birthday is November 23rd. When my birthday was on Thanksgiving, that's when I feel like I self-actualized.
Yeah.
That
I know that birthday was good.
I was so nervous about it, but when it happened, I was like, oh my God, I feel so loved. I've seen all my loved ones. I'm eating good food.
It's another year that I get in my life. Like, there are just too many good things were aligned. I know that was amazing.
Oh my goodness. It was like, wow, this was like the best birthday I've ever had.
Like, and that's how I felt last year on my birthday, because I hosted for the first time at my house.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, these are the people I love, and we're sharing a meal, and we're having a good time. I'm like, oh my God, I love this. Yeah. Yo, get connected. Get connected. Get you some friends and family.
Family. If you don't mess with your family, get some friends. Have some found family.
Found family. That's a whole, like, we have elevated in life. You don't have to be stuck with people that
you don't agree with them. You don't have to be arguing across the Thanksgiving table. Okay, we can find you some new people to be around. You can build community outside of your family.
Exactly. And our next point, that is so funny.
Relearn the skill of conversation. Wow. And encourage open dialogue.
That is so funny.
That is funny.
Yeah, because that is really part of community and just being able to exchange with others, because we're different people. You're going to have different opinions, perspectives, ideas or whatever.
Yeah.
Feelings, that's a big thing. But you can still coexist.
We can still coexist, and we need to learn how to communicate that in a respectful way.
Mm-hmm.
That is a way that like social media and technology, like you can get behind a screen and say anything, like spew whatever, like be so hateful.
Yeah.
But most people are not going to do that to your face.
You're not doing it online. I mean, in person.
Even think about like the friends you have. You have friends that you fundamentally disagree on something. Like there's something that like is important to both y'all and y'all disagree, but you're able to be friends because you either can have a cordial conversation about it or it doesn't define your entire relationship.
Exactly. Yeah, and we've lost that because being behind the screen, you get to pick and choose too many things, and you get to. I mean, I guess it's a pro and a con that you get to pick and choose your community because it's not forcing you to, like on social media, you can
follow exactly who you want. You can follow people with the exact same mindset as you, and you never have to disagree with anybody. But it's not realistic.
Human interaction.
In person, you get to choose your community, but you don't control the interaction.
Because
you choose the people that you. Well, on one hand, you choose the people that you want to spend most of your time with. But also, if you like work a job in person, you don't get to necessarily choose who you work with.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an aspect of it where, yes, you choose who your close friends are and who you spend most of your time with. But you also don't get to weed out like the parts of your friends that you don't agree with or whatever. Like, regardless of if you and your friend are 98% the same, like you're gonna disagree on something.
That's a good point. That's what it is. You don't get to weed out the parts of people that you don't like.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to get to, because I feel like online you have this false sense of like you can like pick and choose parts of people or groups or things like that.
That's
like
the part that I like about social media, because if I follow somebody and I'm like, yeah, I don't like that, I unfollow. Because it's my feed. Like, I'm supposed to be getting on here for enjoyment. I don't want to see you, whatever. But yeah, it's also a bad thing because it doesn't require me to like.
It gives that like confirmation bias thing. So you keep following the same thing that you want.
Yeah.
As opposed to real life community where you guys could have similar, even like we have similar values, but we don't always do things the same way or like react, but we can deal with that because we know how to interact with people.
Yeah. Kind of in that, like, we're not having like healthy disagreements and stuff. If you're only following people who think like you and who you agree with, you're not expanding your mind. You're not requiring yourself to be like, why do I believe this? Like, you're not challenging yourself or your beliefs or other people's. And so it's easier for, like you were talking about, that confirmation bias, it's easier for people to have an opinion and stay in that opinion because it's not challenged.
And when you just said that, I was thinking about, and the fact that because it's online, people aren't putting everything on there. Like, we could just have a community based on this one specific thing. But like in real life, you have community with people. Like, you have a community with that entire person. You don't just be like, because we have this one thing in common. That's all we ever talk about. That's the only way our interactions work. That's not how that works. In real life, you get the full faceted person.
I think about that a lot when I'm like with influencers and stuff that I follow, because like if there's somebody like, oh wow, I love the way she does makeup, but sometimes if I watch like a video that's too long, I'm like, wow, I do not like this person's personality, but her makeup looks really good, so I'm gonna watch this. But like, I think about all the time, if I met this person like in person, I don't think I would like but they're very talented and I appreciate that. But like, knowing that those things are different, like knowing or following a person is very different than being friends with them and knowing their personality and getting along with them and all of that.
That's good. That's our entire point. Please. Two different things. Let's learn how to separate it. Let's go touch some grass.
We need a line of demarcation.
Yeah, please.
We're straying.
We are straying.
Barbershops and salons used to be / are great for community, but I know as Black women, getting your hair done is not, most of the time you're not in a shop with a bunch of other women now. You're in a suite, you're at somebody's house getting your hair braided for 8 hours, and you can still build community that way, but it's just different.
Yeah.
And it's not like there's a certain
Je ne sais quoi.
about like going into a salon or barbershop and there's like 10 people in there. Like, I just remember like being so young and going into a salon with like older women and just learning things. Just learning.
I love it.
Just learn from being there.
Because there's so many, it's multi-generational in there.
Yes.
It's amazing. You learn so much just by regular conversation. Like, you just cannot beat it. I don't know. I love it so much. You cannot beat it. Like TikTok, no, you're still not beating it.
And that's, again, where you build those social skills and social cues. Like, you learn.
You know how to talk to your elders. You know how to interact with people who you don't agree with.
Yeah.
Like, because people will have heated discussions,
Yes.
but like, we're still respectful, right? Yeah, we should do a nice little recap.
Yeah. Let's see. We talked a lot about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and getting our basic needs, and how love and belonging are a part of those needs.
How our idea of community has changed and evolved over time, and the issues, that have come with it.
Right.
How technology has become a double-edged sword, because it has helped us evolve and become more autonomous, which is very great.
And connected to people who aren't in our
Immediate
general vicinity.
Right. Yeah. But in other ways, it has also pulled us apart, isolated us, and we've lost real human interaction.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of skills that we don't have to use regularly, so we're losing them.
Mm-hmm. But we also talked about practical steps to rebuild real connection and for intentional community building.
And we're just saying be intentional about it.
Yeah.
Be aware how long you've been on your phone, when's the last time you went to like a family gathering, like just be aware of it.
Yeah.
It's important. That's the point. You need to be intentional and aware of it, because it is very important to your survival and your self-fulfillment.
Yeah. To your well-being. It's important for your well-being. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it. This was a great episode. I loved it.
That was a great conversation, actually.
Great.
We hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for listening. See you guys later.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Instructions Not Included. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you laughed, and we hope you learned something.
To continue the conversation, please follow us on social media at ini.pod. Don't forget to follow, rate, and review. See you on the next one.